G'day everyone and welcome back to NS2HD. In this video I've got something a little bit different for you. I'm going to be showing you a map that hasn't been shown in public before. It hasn't been officially released by Unknown Worlds yet, but I want to show it to you because it shows off some of the awesome graphical capabilities of the Spark engine. And to get to this map, you can do it already in the beta. It's really simple. All you have to do is run over to an infantry portal, a powered infantry portal that's been built, stand on it as if you've just spawned, spin around 3 times, 360 degrees, crouch once, jump once, fire your weapon once, and then type in the console map NS2_real life, and then press enter. And the first thing that you will notice about NS2_real life is the amazing lighting, texturing, shading, sound effects. Simon, the Unknown World sound guy, you've done a great job producing the ambient wind rustle that we can hear in the air in this map. Also, I think there's a crying child somewhere in the background and a lawnmower, and no doubt there'll be a plane flying over any second. And Max Maguire, if you're watching this video, the lead programmer for Unknown Worlds Entertainment, you should be very proud of the engine you've created. Some of these shading effects I've never seen before in a game. And to the NS2 mappers, you're doing really well. You've definitely captured that quintessential stereotype Australian environment. You can see there's no buildings around. We don't have buildings in Australia. There should be kangaroos any moment, and of course trusty barbecue is right here next door. So thank you everyone for creating NS2 real life. Now I know what you're all thinking, oh crap, NS2HD is following that time-honoured tradition of making a YouTube channel and then ruining it by putting his big ugly face all over it. Well, don't worry guys, I am not about to put my face in the bottom of my commentaries or open up my commentaries with my face. This video is very specific and I'm making it to answer 2 questions, and these 2 questions are questions I get all the time in my YouTube inbox. And the first is, NS2HD, what's your hardware? And the second is, NS2HD, how do you make the videos you make? Well, unfortunately, I have to use a computer to make them, and I am going to show you that setup right now. It's not located out here. I wish it was. I wish I could work out here in NS2_real life, but I can't, so I will have to go inside and show it to you. Well, this is where the not-so-magic happens. This is the video editing station that I built specifically for NS2HD when I decided I wanted to do it. Now, if you want to do something like this and create your own video editing thing for whatever project you might be thinking of, you've got to think crafty, you've got to think resourceful, and you've got to scrounge up from everywhere, because video editing stations, professional ones, are incredibly expensive. They run into the thousands and thousands of dollars, and for most people, including me, that kind of money simply isn't a possibility for doing something like this. So when I went to build this station, I basically literally went into the dustbin. I mean, I found this keyboard lying around in the bin. I found this mouse from 5 years ago. The big screen I got on sale specifically for this, but the little screen I pulled out of, my brother got rid of it, threw it in the bin because he didn't want it anymore because he got a new one. And I picked it out, and it's so old that it actually flickers occasionally and makes a screeching sound when you turn it off. So that's the kind of stuff you've got to do when you want to make one of these machines, because you've just got to get out there and find old family stuff, find old friend stuff, and put it all together, and you might be surprised at how all these components can contribute together to create a machine that you can use to create your own stuff. So onto the actual hardware that I use to do this. And this is hardware done as cheaply and as efficiently as possible. You can see the case cost about $10. It was the bare bone case I could get. I used this incredibly expensive cable management system. Actually, this is where I really went over the top. I thought, who cares about saving money? Cable management is important. So I've used a system called no cable management here. It costs usually about $0. So if you're thinking of making a video editing station, consider investing in some cable management. I get decent airflow with this, and I think it looks alright. So I think I did pretty well picking the more expensive option there. The processor, again, doing it on the cheap, you've got to look usually at AMD instead of Intel, because when it comes to bang for buck, AMD just kicks ass. And when I was working out what processor to get, I did a giant spreadsheet with benchmarks and numbers and everything else to actually work out a percentage number for how much more efficient the AMD hexa-core 1090Ti was versus the Intel i7-920 or whatever it was back then when I was building this, and the AMD came out like 3% ahead, so I was really chuffed that I could save some money there. Put a giant cooler on it because when you're video editing, you're usually running your processor at 100% all the time, and 6 cores running at 100% all the time creates a bit of heat, so you want to dissipate that, one of these big boys. 8 gigs of RAM in there, obviously because it's an AMD board, not using triple channel, just dual channel, 8 gigs back there of the cheapest, most cheerful RAM you can get, because guys, seriously, when you're video editing like this, you don't need DDR 2 billion megahertz RAM to improve your encoding times. The money's better spent elsewhere. And that leads me to where the big horsepower is. This is where I went all out. The ATI 5870 here is my main card. This is what I use to actually record my NS2HD videos in game. I didn't use it to record NS2 real life, but that's a story for another video. So this is where all my main horsepower is. Obviously, when you've got the choice between a GTX 580, 480 or 470, and you're recording a DirectX 9 game like this, really you can't go past a 5870. You know, as at the point, you know, apart from going maybe a 5970, that's just way out of my budget league. Maybe if you were recording a DirectX 11 game using a lot of tessellation, you'd go for a GTX 5 or 4 series, but definitely not on the cards when you're doing it on a budget. Now, my second video card down here is a NVIDIA card, so it's a bit of an ATI and NVIDIA party in here. This is a GTS 450, and I use this for my video encoding. So I never record games on it, I never play games on it, because it's nowhere near as powerful as the 5870, but I use it for video encoding, because when it comes to video encoding, you can either go, all right, I'm going to have a dual socket board with 2 hex core Intel 980X CPUs and it's going to cost me $1 bajillion, or you could do it with NVIDIA's CUDA cores, which, I mean, this card was bloody cheap. I won't quote prices because I'm Australian, so they won't mean much at the moment, seeing as currency differences, because I know my audience is worldwide. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Some cheapy gigabyte board slotting it all together, and I don't know, some Antec power supply. And hard drives, I've run out of hard drive space, so I'm trying to save up to get a new hard drive because I've recorded so much footage. I've got about over 1 terabyte now, so I don't know what to do with it. I don't want to delete it because it's like the history of NS2 development. So we'll see what happens there. Anyway, moving on to the software. When it comes to your software, you've got to be just as crafty as with your hardware. When I was trying to pick out what programs I'd use to create NS2HD, I went hunting and I found that Adobe did a really good deal on their Creative Suite for students. So that was the obvious logical choice for me, because I was still at uni while building this, so I managed to get the student discount, which was lucky for me. Other options include, well, if you're using a Mac, you can use Final Cut Pro, you can also use Sony Vegas, and even if you're just doing simple movies, even Windows Movie Maker can be perfectly good for doing what you need to do. But I mean, I use Creative Suite 5. It's really good because it does allow you to do the encoding on the GPU instead of the CPU, which saves so much money and time. And basically, I just use Premiere Pro for my timelines. So you can see here, this was NS2HD 63, which has already gone up before this video. Simple timelines. When I do a commentary, I record my audio separately. I just watch the timeline on my preview monitor like that, coming up on the preview monitor there. And then as I watch the game unfold, like this game is here, I just commentate it into my microphone, and then I slap the commentary down here into the timeline, and then render out the whole thing together, so you get my commentary over the top of the game. Because obviously NS2 doesn't have a replay system, so like with StarCraft, I can't just watch a replay and record a whole movie over the top of that. I have to record my commentary separately to my actual gameplay. Unless I do first-person commentary, which I haven't thought about doing yet. Anyway, so that's simply how I make the video. For my special effects, I get a lot of questions about my special effects, like my watermark up here in the corner. If I zoom in on that over here in the preview pane, little effects like this, the NS2HD in the corner. Also effects like my title text and my opening scene and my closing things. All of that is done in After Effects CS5, which is obviously, it's an integral part of Creative Suite 5, so you don't have to buy a separate program if you use that. So you just create layers to create different effects. I've got about 7 layers that I'm using to create this simple title text, and that's basically all there is to it. It's pretty simple how I create these things, and I mean, with the watermark, that's just another bunch of simple layered effects as well to create that. That's it for me for now, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I've done it so that hopefully many of you out there can create your own YouTube channels or your own streams or whatever it is you want to do to promote whatever game it is or whatever thing it is that you like, because video editing and making video editing stations is not just for people with heaps of money and professionals and big companies. The small guy can do it too, so I hope you get out there and do it as well. And hey, if Natural Selection 2 is the game you like, I really encourage you to start up your own YouTube channel and join me out there in promoting what is going to be, I think, a really, really awesome game. Thanks a lot for watching, everyone.